So I'm trying something new tonight. I don't know how this is going to work, but I hope you like it. I like being in bed. It's quite cozy. And I feel like I can look at the camera more. So, unable to turn away, the mouse child stared at the can as the days passed. He felt himself grow dizzy as the dogs undulated before him with the motion of the water. As hard as he stared, he was never quite certain which dog was the last visible one. Winter had left the pond. The trees had lost their bare sharpness, and the branches were blurring to leaf. Skunk cabbages pushed their coarse green points up out of the black, boggy earth, and the nights grew clamorous with spring peepers. Robins were hard at work among the earthworms. The rattling cry of the kingfisher sounded along the banks. Mallards cruised among the reeds, and from the surrounding swamps came the bristle of marsh hawk and the pumping of the bittern. The fish that swam past the mouse and his child moved more swiftly now, and the sunlight filtering through the depths seemed warmer than before. Grown frogs and young tadpoles, newts and snakes and turtles, awaking from hibernation, swam up to the surface as spring came to the pond. And that little dog, and the one after that, said the child, but no matter how many times he tried, he was always lost in the place among the dogs before he found the last one the eye could see. Maybe I could help you look, said a small and gentle voice. And maybe you'd talk to me and not eat me up. Would you do that and not eat me? We don't need anybody, said the mouse child. Where are you? Here, said the voice, by your feet. I don't have anyone to talk to. It's depressing. Who are you? Said the father. I don't know, said the voice. I don't even know what I am. When I talk to myself, I call myself Mud. That's silly, I know, but you have to call yourself something if you've got no one else to talk to. There was a stirring in the ooze at the mouse child's feet, and a little ugly critter rose up and leaned against a leg. What are you? It said. We're toy mice, said the child. Is it Miss or Mr. Mud? Please excuse my asking, but I can't tell by looking at you. Miss, said the little creature. She was something like a misshapen grasshopper, and was dark as muddy as her name. I'll be your friend if you'll be mine, she said. Will you do this yet? Do you think? I'm sure of everything. We'll be your friends, said the child. We're unsure too, especially as little dogs. I know, said Miss Mud. It's all so difficult, and of course everyone bigger than I tries to eat me. And I'm always busy eating everyone smaller, so there isn't much time to think about things. As she spoke, she flung what looked like an arm out in front of her face, caught a water flea, and ate it up. It's distasteful, she said. I know it's distasteful. I've got this nasty sort of huge lip with a joint in it like an elbow, and I catch my food with it. It's an odd thing, it is, and I don't think that's how I really am. I just can't believe that I'm this muddy thing you see crawling about in the muck. I don't feel as I am. I simply can't tell you what I feel inside. Clean and bright and beautiful. Like a song in the sunlight. Like a sigh in the summer air. Do you ever feel that way? This is a statement about gender. Ah, sighed the father. How could he say how he felt? Far different from the tin mouse who had danced under a Christmas tree, certainly, but less than whatever it was he needed to be, hoped to be, and now almost despaired of ever being. His works were clogged with mud and dirt and rust. His spirit was heavy in him. I've lost my place again, said the child. I'll help you, said Miss Mud. I'll help you, said Miss Mud. I'll point to each dog as you go. There, she said, as she climbed up the side of the can and clung to the label. Now I'm at the first dog. And the one after that, and the one after that, said the mouse child, while Miss Mud changed position accordingly and pointed to the appropriate dog. All through the lengthening days of the spring, the mouse child looked at the Bonzo label. Water plants put out their roots and anchored to him, and little colonies of algae settled on him, flourished and increased. Snails fed on the last scraps of his fur, catfish nibbled on his whiskers, and still he thought the less visible dog, little visible black and white spotted dog. The father, his eyes fixed upon his son, saw the words "You will succeed" disappear as the good luck coin turned green, then black. The little child's glass-bead eyes grew dimmer, and the more he tried while the father watched helplessly, infinity at his back. Springtime passed. The flickering play of the shadows from the bottoms dappled the depths below, and the mud on the bottom smelled of summer. Water striders darted on silver points of light far above the heads of the mouse and his child, and the fish leaped after hovering mayflies to fall back with bright splashes that spangled the quivering water ceiling. Have you found it yet? The mouse father asked his child. He felt his clockwork stiffening inside him with a long disuse. Then all hopes of getting out of the pond faded. He found himself thinking in that mud. Once one got used to it, it was not uncomfortable. The motion of the water was soothing. I love that feeling. The startling, sudden, lightning-bright image of the elephant in his mind of that departed morning was sharp within his memory, and it was painful to him. as if a spring within his mind were wound up so achingly tight. Powerless to act, he could not convert that cold energy to motion, and his determination faded as he settled deeper in the mud. If white times how equals dog, said the child, who was thoroughly confused by now, then dog divided by how must equal y. Two passing tadpoles swing between him and the Bonzo can as they encountered a water snake. This way, please, said the snake, and swallowed them. Looks bad, said one of the tadpoles as they disappeared down the snake's throat. You never know, said the other. If we can just get through this, maybe everything will be all right. Keep your eyes on the dog, said Miss Mudd to the mouse child. Let us persevere even through the prospects are uncertain. The water was especially clear that day, and the Bonzo label sharp and well defined. To the mouse child, the endless dogs no longer seemed to be printed on a paper label of the tin can. He felt them to be real and alive, a pack of ancient brothers through which ran his spirit, projected from his seeking eyes, arranged forward on the journey. As in a dream, he felt himself moving on from one dog to the next until he saw, with sudden shocking clarity, the last and smallest little dog, still recognizable as a dog. Beyond that were only tiny dots of colour. Still the child stared, and saw between the dots of colour blank white space, emptiness that seemed to flow back towards him from the smallest dog out through the largest. Nothing. Nothing. I can see nothing between the dots, nothing at all coming and going, nothing is what is beyond the last visible dog. Clop! See, said Martina, rose up from the mud and snapped his jaws. Nothing, he said. Absolutely nothing. Accretions and abstractions of annotated nothing, bafflements of nothing, charismas, demerges, and epiphanies of nothing. Not well, see above, see below, nothing. Scrunch, chomp, 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 chomp. Ulp, ulp. He snapped up the snake that had eaten the tadpoles and was a long time in swallowing it. Nothing, said the mouse father. What about the ultimate truth? That's it, said Serpentina. Nothing is the ultimate truth. Well, I was getting existential. Nothing, said the child. Nothing, repeated Serpentina. Oh, shouldn't think it like that, said Miss Mudd, dodging quickly away from the snapper's jaws. It scarcely seems fair, does it? I mean, of course, I'm not really sure. I don't believe it, said the mouse child. The coloured dots were dancing in his vision. The dogs seemed to be surrounding them. He felt his mind leap, as muskrats had when he conceived of the X. I wonder what's on the other side of nothing, he said. Tiny upstart, said Serpentina. Who are you to seek the other side of nothing? I'm big enough to stand in the mud all this time and contemplate infinity, said the child. I'm big enough to look at the other side of nothing. Even I am, said Miss Mudd. She reached out her jointed lip, tore off the last visible dog, and began to chew it up. That's cheating, rumbled Serpentina, missing again as he struck. You can't swallow infinity. I just want to see what's behind it, said the child, in the works cited. That's fair, isn't it? Very well, said Serpentina, develop your premise. He retired into the ooze and went to sleep. Miss Mudd chewed and swallowed steadily as the paper label disappeared. The shiny tin behind it became visible, and the child saw a beady eye looking at him from the exposed surface of the can. Gradually the area of exposed tin widened, and he saw his own face and his outstretched hands holding his father's hands. His reflections in the counter he had stood long ago seen had been below his field of vision. He had never seen himself before, but he recognized his father, and therefore knew himself. Ah, he said, there's nothing on the other side of nothing but us. Miss Mudd looked at her in the tin and covered her face and turned away. Oh, Miss Mudd. The mouse child felt himself fanned by a current of water as a largemouth bass swam past him and glowered at the tin can. Move along, buddy, said the fish to his own reflection. I'm nesting here. You're talking to yourself, said Miss Mudd, stepping aside as the bass struck at her. Unconvinced, he swam back slowly and saw that the other fish did the same and withdrew. And stay away, he said over his shoulder as he left. They're big and strong, but they're silly, said Miss Mudd. Shiny things on strings are always coming down to catch them. The child looked at the reflection in the skin tan, and in the hands that held his own he felt his father's grip grow weak. There's nothing beyond the last visible dog but us, he said. Nobody can get us out of here but us. That gives us why. Now we have to figure out the hows and whats. Oof, my back is getting a little sore. I fear that Serpentina is right, said the father. Nothing is the ultimate truth, and all this mud is like all other mud. I don't care if it is, said the child. I want to get out of here. Can you find some string? He asked Miss Mudd. Oh, yes, she said. There's a lot of here on the bottom. It gets caught in snags. I'll get some right away. The child stood muttering to himself. Whoop, whoop, doop, doop. While his father stared beyond him into the empty water, and Serpentina snored in the mud. Up times down, said the mouse child, is divided by out. Here into there. And we'll continue with that tomorrow. We'll see if they get out. Will they get out? We're on page 113, so you never know.
But back to the cuddles. The soft cuddles. I kind of like doing this, lying down and talking to you. Feels good. Feels like I'm cuddled up next to you. I'm cuddled next to a sweater. But if I dig around right, it always smells like you. That's wonderful. Then again, if I come home and you're not a black Canon camera, I don't know what I'll do. I don't know what I'll do, Christy. I'm so used to the single black, unblinking eye. But sleep well, Christy. And keep calm. Find a llama. Carry it. I'll be home before you know it. I love you dearly, Christy. I can't wait to see you. 26 days. 25 tomorrow. Ooh! I love you, Christy. Good night. What? My finger's off the button. My goodness. I love you, Christy. Good night.